What is your stance on public housing?
Ooh, my stance on public housing. I do support public housing. I believe that one of the ways that we're going to help solve our homelessness and our houselessness crisis is, I mean, by a total new investment in social housing. I think it's, what is it, 10 million homes in 10 years is what we need to build in order to fight back against the homelessness crisis. We also need to be penalizing land persons who are leaving long-term properties vacant because they falsely inflate their rents and they just sit around and wait for someone to come along who's desperate enough to pay it. It's almost predatory, and it creates another housing shortage in these metropolitan areas. There's apartment buildings in Seattle that are half empty because they refuse to adjust the rent because they want someone who's going to pay more money, and it's displacing people. It's leaving people out on the street who shouldn't be there. There's the rejection. People reject anybody who has government assistance for housing and things like that. That should absolutely. They claim it's something else, but I mean, if you qualify for government assistance for housing, why doesn't the government just have the housing? Because it saves everybody that weird dichotomy that they run into where these land people don't want to rent to anyone on government assistance. And they discriminate against these people, and it disproportionately affects especially communities of color, and it's abhorrent. So if instead of offering vouchers, we offered an actual roof over people's heads, we'd have a lot of these crises solved and taken care of. Because when you give people shelter and food, they want to work, they want to be a part of the community, and they have that ability then. It's two things that they don't have to worry about.
Well, and it's one of these things too. 44% of homeless people have jobs.
Yes.
I mean, this is one of those things. We've gotten it to a point of crisis because we don't have living wages, because we have no workers' rights whatsoever. That we've gotten to this point, and we need kind of just a reinvestment in social welfare.
Of course. And everyone's almost afraid of something like social housing, but isn't all housing in its own way a social thing? I mean, it all kind of is. And we don't have any kind of mandates on these developers to account for the communities that are already there. We need to keep these developers that are making millions of dollars accountable for their displacement of entire neighborhoods and communities. We need to make sure that when they go in with these housing plans, that they have a sub-plan in place for how to retain the people that already live there, how to combat these kinds of things that are putting them out and displacing them. I mean, we also need to have a tenant's bill of rights that I actually think should extend to small business owners who rent their business space. But we need to protect people from predatory eviction processes, from predatory land persons. We need to make sure that 15 days is not enough time for someone to find a new home, especially in a city like Seattle. It's not enough time for people to realistically move and relocate, but there's tons of areas around the country where 15 days is all the notice they have to give you. I think in Seattle, it's 21 days. Have you ever tried to find a house in 21 days? That's ridiculous. And I mean, we need to protect renters as much as we protect homeowners. Both are important. Both are necessary. Both create a rich economy. But when you're negatively affecting one so they can never become the other, when you're fleecing renters who already don't make enough money to make ends meet, you're fleecing them for 80% of their monthly income. I mean, they're never going to be able to save money to become a homeowner. And that was always part of the dream, right? Everyone can own a house of their own. But social housing will empower people and working people especially to be able to save, to be able to become a homeowner. It'll give them new pathways. We can give them different kinds of loans. We can give zero interest loans to people who can can support these payments. I mean, we have the ability to provide real housing for people, so we should. And it's frustrating and ridiculous to think that we can't when we absolutely can.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your